Representative Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I would like to reserve the right to make a motion.
So noted.
And I have some questions, if I could, just to make sure I understand the legislation. I appreciate all the comments. I've worked with the good representative from Davis County for many years. I don't think she gets the credit that's due to her for all that she's done for Utah air quality. Some others certainly, I don't think she wants the limelight, nor does she want the credit. She just goes about doing a good job. I work with her, I appreciate her. I just have a few questions, and it may result in me making the motion or withdrawing the motion. I heard it said up here that stringent means different. And all throughout my life, and we got a lot of attorneys on the board here, I've always thought that meant more stringent, more severe. And so we have the internet available here, and I just went through 5 or 6 different Websters, and the term stringent means, according to the dictionaries, binding strongly, making strict requirements, restrictive, rigid, severe, demanding, authoritarian, exacting. Synonym is unflexible, unbending. And I guess the question I have is this: I still have not caught the vision as to why we cannot do what these people have testified to, which is take it upon ourselves and our own Division of Air Quality, this incident that happened with the Stericycle. What in the world would be the reason that we wouldn't go out there and measure that on a daily basis to protect our own citizens? I could care less if the EPA got mad at us or not. We go out and we take care of our citizens. I don't understand that. It just doesn't make sense to me. And you and everybody in this committee goes, I've gone out and done things that the federal government says are wrong. But I know in my heart they're the right things to do as a citizen. I've been under grand jury investigation for these things. And so why in the world would we risk the health and safety and welfare of our citizens as a Division of Air Quality and not go out and protect them, but yet we're going to enter into an agreement here that says that we're going to make things inflexible, unbending, restrictive, rigid, severe, demanding, authoritarian, and inflexible. I just don't understand that, Representative. Maybe that's the part that I cannot figure out. Why can't we do this? Why do we have to bend? And you know, the good representative from Heber, he said, well, we can't afford to lose our privacy. I understand that. I think everybody here understands that. We want to be in control. This doesn't cause us to lose our privacy if we don't pass this bill, does it? If we don't pass this bill, do we lose privacy?
Without this bill, we cannot do what you're...
No, the question is, do we lose the privacy we have over the EPA? That's the only question I have, yes or no. If we don't pass this bill, do we lose privacy?
With the status quo, and we don't ever try and create
don't.
anything unique to Utah? No, we don't.
We do not lose privacy. So that's a straw man argument. It doesn't have any impact on our privacy. But what it does have an impact on is to make things more stringent. And I don't understand how measuring air quality and protecting our citizens would be counterproductive or something that the federal government would oppose. And we should just go out and do it. If they want to make a case of it, we go to them and we say, these federal government people are so enmeshed in their regulations that they do not want to protect the citizens of Utah. So therefore, we've taken it upon ourselves to do the job ourselves, which we can do better. And to tell me that we have to go past a rule that makes it more stringent, I just don't understand it. What, can we use a different term?
What you just said is my closing argument then. You want us to be able to be responsive, and I appreciate that. I want that too. We want to be able to be responsive to the needs of that community. If we just use the Stericycle circumstance, we cannot. We are the ones who have set this barrier for ourselves. We're the ones who say we will not go beyond. We will not go. I don't care what the word is. If it's more stringent, if it's different, if it's beyond, if it's unique, whatever the word is. The point is, they have a set of rules, and if anything is not on that rule, we're not allowed to do it. Is that, and if we don't take action today, then we're saying we're happy with tying our own hands. We're happy. We're happy with the EPA one size fits all, not only standards but rules, and I think that's short-sighted, and I think it's a circular argument. And I think the the Webster's definition of what more stringent means is hardly a legal definition in environmental law. We have here experts that are speaking to what it means to be more stringent in this context. That's exactly what it means.
All right, thank you. My motion is to replace the word, substitute motion, I'm sorry.
Would that be to amend or substitute motion?
Okay, yeah, it is a substitute motion,
Very good.
motion to amend, okay?
Thank you.
I think I said that, but anyway, substitute motion, motion to amend. On line 29, and wherever the word stringent appears, put the word flexible. That's my total motion to this bill, and I would accept this bill. And I really reject the idea that we cannot, as a state, direct from our air quality board, from our division director, DAQ, that we should have been doing this all along. And I really reject the idea that we can't do it now. I'm sorry, but I just do not reject that. I don't think that they have ever, if we do it, and we get a letter from them that says we can't do it, you have to do this, that's one thing. But if we do it in the interest of our children, that's another thing. So that's my motion, and thank you.
Representative, would you like to add on line 12 the same word?
Wherever
So we're
it
consistent?
appears, I just saw it on line 29, wherever that word appears, just replace it with the word flexible.
Very good, thank you. We have a motion to amend HB 226. Where appropriate, to strike stringent and insert flexible to that motion. Let's identify the lines. It's lines 12, 20, 29, and line 33. Discussion to that motion. Representative Sandel?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have my
Excuse
question earlier.
me. Excuse me, late. Representative Edwards, please.
I can appreciate the concern by the good representative from Kane County, and I would certainly be willing to discuss that, but I really feel like it's premature for either Mr. Byrd or myself to accept that amendment right now, after we have in good faith negotiated with industry representatives on this exact language. I don't feel like I can enter into an acceptance of an amendment without acknowledgement or discussion with the very people that we have had good faith effort on for a year and a half on this issue, consistently. We have an agreed compromise. You know there's another bill out there that is a complete removal of this entire section of code that's moving through, coming from the Senate. This is a compromise bill that has been agreed to by members of industry, you've heard from Cleaner Action Team, League of Cities and Towns supports this. We've got broad-based support from cities and counties, and I'm just I want to be responsive to your concerns, but I'm extremely hesitant to change language on the fly when we have achieved a very delicate balance of support from our industry representatives on this exact language here.
Thank you very much. Representative Briscoe, to the amendment.
I would very carefully speak against the proposed amendment. As a former English teacher, I'm looking at flexible. I'm looking at the internet. I'm looking at Merriam-Webster, capable of being bent or flexed, usually without breaking, easily bent. Take a look at the synonyms: malleable, soft, adjustable, bending, elastic, extensible. But I don't think the word flexible gives the DAQ and the DEQ what they need. I think it's more restrictive. I think the word flexible applies only to how you can put in place something that is already there and doesn't allow you to go in any sense differently. It only refers to how you might take a current standard, a current rule, a current reg, a current law, and how you do it, not that you could put in place a different regimen or regime. So I'm not sure it even goes to what you're trying to do, Representative, and I'll be doing it now.
Thank you very much. Further discussion to the amendment. Representative Powell.
I think it's an important point, and I just want to make sure that I understand what it does. I'm not asking to clarify, it's a simple amendment, Representative Noel, and I appreciate the effort. I think that the problem the sponsor is trying to solve in current statute exists because the statute currently says that no rule which may be made which is more stringent. And so it does seem to me that getting rid of the word stringent in any form will probably allow what the sponsor wants. And I wonder if Mr. Byrd could weigh in on that. I think this actually may accomplish what the sponsor is seeking. I'm not sure, but if we didn't have, let me put it this way, if we didn't have this statute, and maybe this has to do with some primacy issues that the representative mentioned, but if we didn't have this statute at all, then I think that we would be able to regulate more than, I'm not going to say stringent or flexible, more than the EPA. Can I ask Mr. Byrd that?
Mr. Byrd, would you please respond? Thank you.
Yes, again, Bryce Byrd with the Division of Air Quality. To answer the question directly, yes, this does not impact our delegation of the program.
With how the word would play out, I mean, I think it accomplishes the right compromise at this point to move this forward. I think that's the right move at this point. Thank you.
Very good. Representative Hawks?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Can't do that.
Can't do that?
No.
Okay. I'd like to speak to that. I guess I can support the recommended language. I just think the language I'd really like to have, and maybe I could just get them to respond to that,
That'd be appropriate.
is simply a different. In other words, instead of saying more stringent, which appears to be a word that we're getting hung up on, I like saying that is different than the corresponding federal regulations. The board finds that a different rule will provide. And I'm wondering if that provides adequate flexibility for the board, in your opinion, or if we're still back to this notion where we really aren't quite sure what that would do.
Yeah, I think,
Please.
if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Again, I think I would like to have some time to talk with the attorneys that have helped draft this language as well. But just the context is, of course, this was only limiting us in one direction. The thing that limits us in the other direction is the corresponding federal regulation. And so under our delegation program, we could be different, but we can only be different in one direction on the federal side, and the current statute only lets us be the same on the state side. And so again, whether that language, I think that language has been maintained because that is the current statute. And so as we've tried to draft and work with the attorneys on drafting new language that was acceptable, we did it within the framework of the existing statute. I think that, again, just sitting here right now, with that understanding, it only moves us in that one direction. And so the end result will be, we could make rules that were only more stringent because we can't make rules that are less stringent.
Thank you. I have a question, if I may. You see we've stricken where it says maybe more stringent. The maybe has been stricken. What is that? It's on line 29, the section I'm looking at.
I think the May moves up to line 28.
Okay, just for that. Okay, thank you. Reverend Noel? On your motion.
All right, I have the floor, so I may want to amend this motion, but I do have a question for Mr. Byrd. I'm really confused. I'm not confused. I just want to make sure that I understand this. This seemed like this entire incident of not, the DAQ not responding to these needs of these citizens is coming back to the legislature. Am I wrong or right? It's not the federal government, it's us. Is that correct?
So correct, just the quick history, there is a corresponding federal regulation called the Hospital and Infectious Medical Waste Incineration Rule. From that rule, we had determined that the board cannot make a different rule than that federal standard for this particular facility, and in part because of this current statutory language. Again, not the bill language, but the underlying statutory language, which said we could not make a regulation more stringent than a corresponding federal regulation.
Okay, I understand. Wow. You're saying that because we passed this law, that we're harming our citizens, not being able to protect them from air quality. Is that correct?
Correct. It limited our ability to.
Okay, so if I use the term, as the good representative from Davis County said, different, that you can use the word that says different, so that you can go to the board and say, we want something different than the federal government, that's not so locked in bureaucracy, that it's going to help the citizens of this state. And I'm not putting you on the spot, but that sounds like the better word than flexible. You can make it different. Is that going to be a bad thing?
Again, with the understanding on, because of the primary issue, it could only move in one direction. So we couldn't make it different and less protective than the federal standard. We could only make it different and more protective.
We can only make it different and more effective. I don't want to make it less effective. I want to make it, like the good representative is trying to make it, which is more effective, but I want us to have some common sense in how we do it and not necessarily get into this binding strongly. I want you to go and say, how is Utah going to do this? And I think that's a good thing. So my amended motion is to change the word from flexible, where it said, I put in flexible, go back and change it to different. And if we change that to different, that gives, I think that gives the board enough flexibility.
Remove the word more, right?
Yeah, remove the word more and just put in the word different. There you go. And I think that takes care. I think that gives us the authority that we have as a state, as legislatures, as policymakers, to tell the board of, we want to protect our citizens, folks. We don't want to work with the federal government. That's my motion.
Representative Brown?
Thank you. A bit of history here. When Mr. Groh spoke about the decades ago when he was involved with Geneva Steel and he was being imposed with these federal regulations, there was a time in the state when we were being hit not with clean air, but water quality, all of the federal imposition in our life. The issue became then that there was a worry that we would make rules stricter than the federal rules that we were facing. Circumstances have changed. Our population has more than doubled since then. Now to use the same line that the good representative from Davis County, not only are we looking at how to get the ball over the goal, we're looking at different ways to get it over the goal. And if we're going to talk strictly about, and the good representative mentioned this is a states' rights issue. Yes, it is. I agree with that. But if we're going to take states' rights to the degree we should be able to go above and below. And so primacy restricts us from going below. I understand that. But I think to eliminate that part, and I agree with your bill, to eliminate that part that said we can't go a different way than the federal government has prescribed, I think is fine. And I think the word different does that. It gives you the latitude you need. You know what you can do under the federal primacy. So you're going to do something different. Probably it's not going to be down, but it's going to be up. And I think we can all accept that. But what you do with the word stricter is put everybody on notice that it's going to be more onerous, worse, harder to deal with. And that's the problems we're all having with this bill. So I think this word change will give you what you need, and allow you to do what you need to especially address these different areas of the state where the air quality has been affected by population shifts. And that's what we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Sandel.
Thank you. I'm going to speak in favor of this substitute. I have been really struggling with exactly what we've discussed here, with constituent concerns, with a rule that would be more stringent that they've expressed to me, and with the idea that we, as a state, when we set a rule, we know the people to talk to if it affects us adversely. I appreciate that. And so I think this strikes a nice balance. And I think representative from Southern Utah has worked to accomplish what makes me feel more comfortable. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Seeing no further licensing committee, Representative Edwards.
Thank you. I appreciate the focus on getting this right, and that's what we've been trying to do for the past while on this bill. I will tell you that I have concerns about, I certainly believe this to the will of the committee, and I appreciate your attentiveness on this issue. I really do. I just wonder if different may end up being a two-edged sword, and that stringent is a more objective standard. Wonder if that is the case. But I'm willing to accept the will of the body on two-edged sword. I mean, on two-edged sword. On different, and if that assuages concerns and keeps this focused on what we're trying to do, which is really stay up in front of this issue and create Utah solutions to Utah problems, then I appreciate that.
Very good, thank you. Representative Noel, would you like to sum?
Quickly, I just want to recognize again the representative from Davis County, and see if I have questions on air quality, she's made that her task up here, has made that her record. I sincerely appreciate her efforts today. I appreciate those that spoke in favor of this. Again, I think this is a very good compromise, and I can vote for this bill, and I will support this bill. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That has gone into it with both advocates and industry. I think this will help us maintain our primacy as well as provide us tools to prepare for our increased population growth and our necessary economic development as we face our future in our state, and also take care of the public health of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Representative Hawks, would you care to sum?
Just very briefly, commend the sponsor, commend the many citizens who've reached out to me on this issue. I was initially skeptical. Appreciate the dialogue here today, which I think has made for a better bill. Just appreciate all of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to pass HB 226 as amended with a favorable recommendation. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank
Consent
you.
calendar? Just a little Valentine's Day. Thank you.
Next item of business is HB 254.